So, good afternoon, everybody, from rainy Brussels today, and at a very important moment in time when we talk about the climate, as you all know. I mean, it starts now today in Paris, and that's why we thought it was important to have a discussion about the contribution of the housing sector, and more generally the relationship between housing and the local level, the local governance, in trying to achieve what we call the fair energy transition. The fair energy transition being a crucial part of our common efforts to have a better environment and to avoid the climate disruption and warming. So that's why we wanted today to first of all focus on what could be the contribution of the public, cooperative and social housing sector to mitigate climate change. This is the first point that I will present. Secondly, we wanted to have an insight.
Julien, apologies. Can you share your screen? You should go to quick start.
Yeah. And secondly, we'll see with Ian Turner from Energy Cities about the approach at the local level and the local governance. And finally, eventually, hopefully, we will have a colleague from the National Housing Federation, Steve Cole. He has not yet joined us. Hopefully, will during the discussion. He will focus on one particular aspect on related to the process on energy efficiency and the methods and the innovative approach to improve the quality of renovation. So I start now with a focus on basically what the social, cooperative and public housing sector has been doing over the last couple of years. For those of you who follow us regularly, you may know that in Copenhagen in 2009, at the occasion of the COP21, we also tried to step up and clearly say that we can contribute to the whole process, but we need the right condition, we need the right policies. Now, in 2015, 6 years after that, it's time for us to see what has been done and to reflect on what could be done in the next years to improve again the whole efforts on that topic. So I will be discussing about three things this afternoon. What our homes have achieved since 2009. We've done a survey among our members, and it gives us an interesting view on what the sector has achieved in terms of, you will see energy performance and other things. Secondly, we'll focus on the question of innovation. Not only technological innovation, but other kind of innovation. And thirdly, we will have a look at what we need from now on, to continue and to improve the delivery of high quality and affordable homes in sustainable neighborhoods. So that's a bit in summary of the achievement of our sector. A note of caution first, of course, it's an average. So you will find certainly companies at the local level that have done more than that, and you will find companies that have done less than that. So we try to have a view of the overall performance of the stock of our members. And our members represent around 11% of the total housing stock in different countries of the European Union and beyond the European Union. So we tried through a survey to measure the activities of our members in the field of energy efficiency and a fair energy transition. And we have some interesting figures. Those figures can be seen as rather positive, and I know that some people will certainly say that it's not enough. And I think the purpose of the discussion today is how we can make sure that we do the right thing for not only for the climate, but for basically the living conditions of our children and grandchildren. One of the key figures relates to the number of dwellings that have been refurbished over the 5 years that we have measured. And yeah, it's 1.8 million have been refurbished. And the question that you may ask is, at what level have you refurbished all this? Well, it varies greatly from one country to another, from one situation to another. And I will come to that a bit at the end to see what we mean in terms of energy performance and what is the right level that we should achieve or at least should aim for. This 1.8 million represents something like 1.2% annually in terms of refurbishment rate. It's also something that people have been discussing. What is the right percentage of renovation rate per year that we have to deliver if we want to achieve the objectives in terms of CO2, energy efficiency, and also renewable? 1.2 is something of a longer trend, and definitely the crisis, economic and global financial crisis, has had an impact on the ability of members of our organization to refurbish. So we should look at this figure of 1.2% as with the light of the crisis as a factor, a global factor, which had a tremendous impact on the financial opportunities. And some interesting figures also related to the average amount of money saved on the energy bill per year thanks to the improved energy performance. I think this is something very significant, and when you are a tenant or when you work with tenants, this is something very tangible. Another very tangible point is about the jobs created by investing in refurbishment project. It's always very difficult to measure the actual number of jobs created, so we had to refer to models that you all know, basically, that has been developed by different projects or different level. And then the models assume that you create 15 jobs per 1 million invested in refurbishment project. So this gives you an idea of what has been done so far. The conclusion is that a very important number of households have seen their living condition improved, the energy performance of their buildings improved, and that's had a clear impact on their energy bill, purchasing power, as well as the number of jobs created. So now, the important point now is to look at what to be done, what can we do to improve, to further improve the renovation rate, since we certainly know that we need to do more in terms of renovation rate. But our point is that there has been some improvement through innovation at different levels. One important point in terms of innovation is what we call the industrialization of the energy efficiency sector. And the energy efficiency sector for the moment is is limited by the capacity to refurbish at a larger scale, to refurbish quickly. This is the main challenge, to not only to avoid the disturbance for tenants, but also to improve the capacity of local companies to do the refurbishment. And based on this challenge, we been involved in a European project that will start very soon, called Transition Zero, based on the experience of the Netherlands on the development of prefabricated panels for the renovation of buildings. I'm sure that many of you have heard about the Energy Sprong model in the Netherlands, whereby in 9 days prefabricated panels are put on the envelope of the dwelling or to be refurbished, and this is done at a very, very high level of energy performance. This is usually combined with improvement of the energy provision or energy system using different elements like a heat pump or a solar panel for the electricity. And this is done obviously at a very large scale, because you cannot find an energy company or energy efficient provider willing to do this kind of approach only for a few or a limited number of dwellings. So the big aspect of this project is the contracts between the energy provider and or the construction company and the housing provider. And precisely in this model that Steve will explain a bit later, you have this aspect of the comfort for people that is preserved, because people are basically disrupted for like 9 to 10 days. So that's the kind of thing that we believe are very crucial to increase the number of dwellings refurbished. Another kind of innovation relates to what we call the different procurement methods. Procurement means the ability or the fact that as a housing provider you need to launch a call for tender to refurbish some of your stock, part of your stock, but you have to do it in a way that is cost effective. And some of our members have developed different approach to procurement. One approach is a nationwide procurement to be able to reduce the costs. This has been done in Sweden, and it's called Kombohus, and this particularly for the new buildings, so the new construction. But you have also other procurement methods which are more based on local skills and based on what we call the framework agreement, whereby you have SMEs, local authorities, and housing provider discussing about what are the needs and what could be the skills and solutions at the local level. I mean, you know that you cannot discriminate local versus the rest of the Europe because this is forbidden by the EU law, but you can discuss what is the best way to achieve your aim. And we've seen some very interesting point, and I encourage you to have a look at the different projects, Project Shelter in particular. So now, what our homes need. I told you that many things have been done since 2010, and one can judge that it's not sufficient. But clearly, if you combine these efforts of energy efficiency with the decarbonization of the energy system, then you might have a tremendous impact. And again, if you look at the number of dwellings that have seen their living conditions improved, that's something very significant. But we know that we need to do more. We need to have a good framework in place at a European level, but also at the local level. That's why we make some, let's say, recommendations. First of all, it's about empowering and involving citizens and energy consumers and communities. And I'm glad that we have Ian Turner from Energy City that will talk later, because he will focus particularly on that point, the role of the local governance, the local level. And we have many tremendous examples of cities everywhere in Europe, not only Växjö in Sweden that I mentioned in my slide, but cities that have managed to discuss with a variety of stakeholders to achieve their goals. So we need more of that, basically. We also need adequate finance for energy efficiency, which means conventional finance. I want to stress the fact that we really think that conventional loans or subsidized loans or grants to energy efficiency for low-income families is still very important. And we have seen recently some very nice example of the use of the European Fund for Strategic Investment for energy refurbishment or energy construction, energy-related construction in France. So we believe that this is still crucial, because usually, banks are the one able to provide long-term low-cost capital financing for renovation. But we need also alternative approach, and meaning, for instance, energy performance contracting or third-party investment. And it's important to see that some countries have decided to develop third-party investment operator, public entities that will help different entities to pay for the upfront cost for investment on energy efficiency. This is something very at the beginning. We need to do more of that, and that's why European projects are useful. But it's also important that member states take the lead. And an example in France, where the new law on energy transition provides for the creation of public third-party financing operator. We need also, third point, a new market design whereby there's a greater combination between energy efficiency and renewable energy. I think it's important to know that when we talk with with the people on the ground, in terms of carbon footprint, it's sometimes better and most cost-effective to build low-energy homes combined with renewable energy than to build only at passive house standard and without taking into account the renewable energy aspect. So we call for a better consideration of those two aspects. And finally, and it's a bit, let's say, overarching point, we need an enabling EU legislation. We need an energy performance of building directive and an energy efficiency directive that will support what I've showed, support what we call local partnership. We'll try to go for the cost-effective measure, and that will take into account the reality of the experience on the ground. And I show, to finish, 3 slides in terms of reality check that should be taken into consideration by the legislation. One is about the discrepancy between predicted energy demand and actual consumption. Very often the models are based on predicted energy demand, and the reality show that usually there's a gap. And it means that when you believed that low energy standard will achieve that amount of energy, actually usually it's more because of many things I put here in the slides. The slides come from our Austrian member in GBV. You know all this already, but it's important to ensure that the legislation takes those reality into account. And the slides, this one, is really about what we mean by basically green building revolution. You see here, this is in the Netherlands, you see here the improvement between 2013 and 2014 in terms of energy label for the buildings, and you see what the great part of it is basically eliminating the most energy consuming dwellings, D to G, and increasing basically the higher share or the higher part of the scale. But in 2014, most dwellings were under label C, and it seems that it could be considered as an achievement when we get rid of basically dwellings with label E, F, G, and when we have more of label C. So this is a bit the reality that our members are confronted with, and we believe that it's important that legislation helps the social housing sector to be innovative, but to remain affordable for the tenants. And this is basically the main point of discussion today. And hopefully now we'll see in the next presentation more of the different elements that I mentioned. Now I will see whether we have some Q&A from the audience.